Hello and welcome to the spring 2023 semester here, and here we are at Introduction to Psychology, HYA, meaning hybrid. That's what we're going to be doing here. My name is Dr. Mark Kavanaugh. I'm going to be your teacher this semester. Now, this is a hybrid class, so I first want to tell you right off that we are going to be meeting. We're going to be meeting on Wednesdays. That will be the start of the week. So due dates are going to be Tuesday nights. So our week is going to go from Wednesday to Tuesday. So everything starts on Wednesday. Even though you're getting this video right at the start of the semester here, Tuesday, don't worry about that. We're going to meet first. And although I do these videos every week for my online classes, I will not be doing them for my hybrid or face-to-face classes. We'll be having the opportunity to go through the material when we meet. But I did want to introduce you a little bit to the class, get you ready for when we do meet. And so welcome to the class. First and foremost, there are three components to this class that you have to pay attention to. Four. You have to come to class. Okay, make sure you come to class. Online, there are three components. There's Brightspace itself, where you're watching this video. There is the textbook that comes with this class, and there's the course book that comes with this class. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to make sure we all have all that material and then demonstrate how I expect you to use those materials to make your way through the class. So we're going to switch here to Brightspace. And so here's your course in Brightspace. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and switch this to Learner View. So you're going to see it just like I do. I'll see it just like you do. And if you go over to, this is going to be the announcements section. This is where you're seeing this video. It's not posted yet, but I will post in the announcements section if there's something that's coming up or if there's a change in our schedule. And every time I grade something, I post it in there. So you want to be checking that every day. So we come in to the content section here, and it opens up to this basic course information, a little video on how to navigate this course. I want to point out right down here, this section, course book and textbook information. This is the course book information. This is the textbook information. The course book is a book that I wrote, and it contains all of the lesson plans and lectures and videos and whatnot that we're going to cover somewhat in the hybrid version of this class. Not all of it. You're still responsible for reading the whole thing and some of the assignments that are in there, but it outlines everything that I'm expecting you to do. And the companion to that is the textbook, and I would like you to read both of those. Now here we have to access the course book. You can download a free PDF. If you have an iPad, an iPhone, or an Apple computer, you can go to Apple Books and buy an Apple version for $4.99. You can go to Amazon Print and purchase a print version for, I think it's $29. Or you can go to the bookstore and get a print version. So there's all kinds of ways to get that. Over here, we have the textbook, which is an OpenStax College. This is a free textbook if you go to this website, but you can also buy a version of it here. And other information here about the course. You got to review all this information. There's actually not a whole lot here. Just go through this whole thing. You have the syllabus right here for the course. We'll be going over that in class 1. But just that one page before we actually switch to the course timeline, which is the last thing I'm going to talk about. I do, however, want to show you my expectation is when we're approaching a given week in the class. In fact, let me actually go to the timeline, and we'll see how that actually operates. You go here, and here's the course timeline. This is the only other link in the course. So you have the timeline. This explains what the timeline is. Prior to class, here, watch all of this stuff. access the course book and textbook, read all this. I have a course lounge for just random, meetups and whatnot. You have course questions. You click there, brings you to a discussion board for questions about the class. Here's a student intake form having to do with asking you to give me information about your expertise and your interests and possibly some barriers for your success so I can work around those. And then we enter into week 1. And here we have the timeline of how we're going to cover things here. So here in week 1, we're going to be looking at chapter 1. You're going to be required to do a quiz, a discussion, and an assignment. The online discussions are part of the expectations of a hybrid class. You'll see that these are links. When you are ready to complete the quiz, you click there. When you're ready to do the discussion, you click there. When you're ready to do the assignment, you click there, and those open up in the appropriate places. What this refers to, this Chapter 1, Introduction to Psychology, actually refers to chapters both in the textbook and the course book. So when you see Chapter 1, Introduction to Psychology, I want you to go to the textbook and I want you to read Chapter 1. Then I want you to go to the course book and I want you to read Chapter 1. All the chapters align. So for every chapter in the textbook, there's a chapter in the course book. So you read one, then you read the other. Now I'm going to tell you that in truth, reading the textbook is not necessarily required. You can get all that information from the course book, but it will give you a much more rich experience and it will expose you to things that I don't necessarily cover in my lectures that are contained within the course books. So let's take a second. Let's take a look at the textbook. Now, I downloaded the textbook in PDF format, and this is what it looks like on my computer. So here's the textbook. I'm scrolling from page to page here. These are actually links. I can go right to Chapter 1, Chapter 2. This will bring me right to the different chapters. Right there, and let's get through all this gobbledygook. Here's Chapter 1. So I start reading Chapter 1, Introduction to Psychology, all of these things, some links that work. Whenever there's a link, those are there. You read through this material, and this is what Chapter 1 is going to be all about as far as the textbook is concerned. Now, once you get through all that material, you say, well, what does Mark have to say about this? What's going to be going on there? And you switch at this point to, let me get ready here, to the course book. Now I've downloaded, this is actually the course book in EPUB format. That's the version you would get if you had an Apple device and paid the $4.99 for it. And it looks like this. So you can see this is the 7th edition of this course book. And there's some front material here about what the course books are. There's an index, and these are links that will take you right to the chapter. Then I go into this kind of reading about how I organize material in the course books, the presence of my own videos from my YouTube channel, QR codes, and any apps that you might. Then I align all the outcomes here with the outcomes of the program. I'm going to skip right over this stuff. A little bit about me. And we enter into Chapter 1, Introduction to Psychology. The first starts off here with an attention section. I introduce you to Crash Course Psychology, a number of videos that I use in my classes. And in the EPUB versions, in the Apple versions of this, these videos will play. They'll play right in the document here. So they're kind of like Harry Potter books. So they're just the motions right there in the book itself. Some myths and facts about psychology, links. And these right here, these are QR codes, which if you have the print version, you can use your phone to scan these codes and access these links as well. Then you go into the learning outcomes for Chapter 1. And then here's the material. And of course, you're going to see some repetition here from what you saw in the other textbook, but different. This is my perspective on these things, and I contextualize them into my approach here. And then we come to this part, probably the one that is really important here, is the assessment section. This is the part of the course book that describes, you saw when we were looking at the timeline, there was a quiz, a discussion, and an assignment. That's what we saw in Brightspace. But there was, when you go into there, there's no instructions. It's just, well, the discussions have the discussion in it, but the quiz doesn't tell you anything. The assignment doesn't tell you anything. That information is in the course book. So if we switch back here to the course book, and I go to the green stuff is all explanation as to how this works. But here we have the Chapter 1 discussion, and this is the prompt for the discussion. So review the different career options for people with a degree in psychology on the APA website. Reflect on at least 2 areas that surprise you. You'll be doing that as an online discussion outside of class. We may bring this up in class. We may have some discussion. There's still the expectation that after we've met, you're going to go online and you're going to post a discussion post. And for full credit, you have to post your own answer to the prompt, and you have to respond to at least 2 other people's posts for full credit. So make sure that you do that part. And we switch back and we see here the chapter quiz. And in this quiz, there's only one question. It goes, consider the 4 goals of psychology, provide an example of a specific psychological problem and how the field achieves these goals. Now, we're going to be going over this in class, specifically what I'm looking for in terms of this particular quiz. That's a big important part of how I'm going to conduct a lecture in this. It's important to recognize that I'm actually looking for an example about how the field of psychology is actually shown those 4 goals, and we'll be discussing that in class. And then we have an assignment. And what that assignment is to look at the history of psychology. And the task is to create a resume of a famous psychologist. Essentially, the instructions in here show you a whole list of famous people from the field of psychology. Pick one, pick a random one. Don't have to pick the big ones, Freud or Skinner and all those people. And then you're doing research on them to develop a cover letter and resume, a fictional cover letter and resume, as if they're applying to teach for me here at KVCC. We're sort of you're playing the role of that individual and presenting your credentials to me. You're uploading that you're doing that in a format, in a cover letter, resume format, answering all of the criteria that I'm looking for to get that to me. If you look at all of the assignments in the course book, what you're going to see is a detailed rubric. Here's the cover letter, the resume design, the resume content. Look, there's just a bullet list. Make sure that you have all of these things in the resume. Okay? And then the personal history, that will be in the cover letter. 20 points there. Mechanics, right there. There's a resume tool. Now, whenever you're submitting an assignment in my class, it's important that it's all one document. So the first page in the document, in this example, is the cover letter. Second page starts the resume and so forth. Just all one document, and I grade that one document. Almost every other assignment is going to require a title page as the first page in the document, and then your work starts on the second page of that document. So learn how to do title pages, just look them up. Pretty straightforward from there. So as we progress through this course, you'll be able to look at the timeline on Brightspace, getting ready for our meeting on Wednesday. I will introduce whatever it is, whatever we're going to be doing in class, we'll be doing that. And then you have the rest of the week until the following Tuesday to get your quiz, discussion, and assignment in for Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is going to be different. Throughout the semester, different chapters required to do different things. I will also be spending some time, you saw in the timeline that there is this thing called special assignments. We'll be discussing that on the second time we meet. We'll be going over those three assignments that are not necessarily attached to a particular chapter, but those assignments which are also described at the back of the book in your course book. So what we've talked about so far is you're accessing Brightspace all the time. You're downloading the course book and the textbook, and you begin reading those things and keeping in time with the expectations in the timeline and getting ready for having a great time learning about psychology when we meet on Wednesday. So I look forward to our time together. Hope you're very anxious, but you got some rest over the break, and that you are ready to learn about all about the most important field in science, and that is psychology. So I'll attempt to prove that to you over the next semester. I will see you then.